Have you ever found yourself tracing the contours of a memory as if it were a worn photograph, trying to recall the exact shade of sunlight on a particular afternoon? It is a curious human tendency, isn't it? This quiet pilgrimage back to what once was, sifting through the archives of the heart for fragments of a past that shaped us. We often speak of memory as a grand library, meticulously cataloging every event. Yet, in truth, it is more akin to an artist's studio, where certain moments are rendered in vivid oils, while others remain as faint charcoal sketches, and some, perhaps, are simply lost to the passage of time. The memories that truly endure, the ones that shimmer with a light all their own, are often those imbued with profound emotion, particularly the genesis of a deep and abiding love. They are not perfect records, no, but curated collections, chosen by the heart for their singular beauty and lasting impact. Consider for a moment that first impression. Not merely a glance, but a moment of recognition, as if a long-lost melody had suddenly found its harmony. For me, it was a late autumn afternoon, the kind where the air holds a crisp promise of winter, yet the sun still casts long golden shadows. We met, quite by chance, at a small, rather dusty bookshop, the scent of old paper and quiet stories filling the air. He was reaching for a first edition of a poet I adored, and our hands brushed. A simple, almost inconsequential touch, yet it felt as if a current had passed between us, a silent acknowledgement of something profound stirring. Do you recall such a moment in your own life? That initial spark, often understated, yet so potent in its quiet declaration? It's remarkable how such seemingly minor details can embed themselves so deeply, becoming foundational to the grand narrative of a life. The human brain, after all, has a fascinating way of prioritizing emotional experiences, making them feel more vivid, more immediate, even decades later. It's as if they are etched, not just in the mind, but in the very fabric of our being. From that initial brush of hands, a delicate thread began to weave. Our conversations stretched into the twilight, then into the late hours, fueled by shared curiosities and an uncanny understanding. We spoke of dreams, of forgotten histories, of the subtle beauty in everyday things. There was a particular afternoon, I remember, a picnic by the old oak tree in the park, where the sunlight filtered through the leaves in dappled patterns. We lay on a worn blanket, sharing stories of our childhoods, laughter bubbling up easily between us. It wasn't a grand declaration, but a quiet, comfortable intimacy that settled between us, like a soft, familiar shawl. These weren't just conversations. They were revelations, each word deepening the sense of an unfolding future together. Have you ever experienced that feeling, where another person's presence feels not just welcome, but utterly essential, as if a missing piece of your own self has finally been found? It's a rare and precious thing, this resonance, this quiet understanding that transcends mere words. It's in these early moments, these shared smiles and knowing glances, that the bedrock of a profound connection is laid. There was a time, not long after, when I was struggling with a challenging decision, a crossroads in my own path. He simply listened, not offering solutions, but a steady, unwavering presence. He brought me a cup of tea, warm and fragrant, and sat beside me, his hand resting gently on mine. It was a small gesture, almost imperceptible, yet it spoke volumes of his quiet strength and profound empathy. It was in these seemingly insignificant acts that the true depth of his character, and our bond, began to reveal itself. We built a world together, piece by piece, not with bricks and mortar, but with shared experiences and unspoken promises. There were Sunday mornings spent reading side by side, the only sounds the turning of pages and the gentle clinking of coffee cups. There were impromptu road trips, chasing sunsets along winding coastal roads, the wind whipping through our hair, our hearts light with the sheer joy of being together. Each shared laughter, each quiet understanding, each moment of mutual support became a thread in a tapestry of our own making. It was a golden age, felt deeply, lived fully, where the future seemed an endless expanse of shared possibility. Sometimes I find myself wondering about the precise alchemy of such a connection. What is it that draws two souls together with such magnetic force? Is it a shared history, written in the stars long before we meet? Or is it a more earthly magic, woven from common values, complementary spirits, and a mutual respect that blossoms into something far greater? Regardless of its origin, the feeling was undeniable, a sense of belonging, of being utterly seen and understood, perhaps for the very first time. Even now, decades later, recalling these initial phases of our love brings with it a warm, almost palpable glow. It's not merely nostalgia for a bygone era, but a recognition of the enduring power of those foundational moments. They are the roots from which everything else grew, the quiet, powerful beginnings that set the course for a lifetime. These memories, though softened by time's gentle hand, retain their vibrancy, much like a beloved heirloom passed down through generations. They remind us that the seeds of profound love are often sown in the most unassuming of circumstances, nurtured by shared humanity and a willingness to truly see another soul. It's a peculiar thing, this ability to revisit the past, isn't it? To step back into those sun-drenched afternoons, to hear the echoes of laughter, to feel the warmth of a hand in yours, even when the present moment is starkly different. This journey into memory is not an escape, but an exploration, a way of understanding the intricate architecture of our own hearts. It allows us to appreciate how those initial impressions, those tender beginnings, laid the groundwork for a love that would forever shape the landscape of a life. And in this quiet contemplation, we can begin to discern the enduring patterns, the deep currents that run beneath the surface of our existence. The clarity of these early memories, their undiminished brightness, stands as a testament to the profound impact of those nascent feelings. It is as if the universe conspired to bring two lives into perfect alignment, creating a symphony where before there had only been individual notes. This wasn't merely affection, it was the dawning of an era, a golden age within the personal history of a heart, where every shared moment felt both precious and infinite. And so, we hold on to these first chapters, these tender beginnings, not as static images, but as living, breathing testaments to the power of connection. They remind us that the essence of love, in its purest form, often resides in the quiet unfolding, the gentle discovery, and the profound joy of finding one's true companion. Recalling these positive memories, studies suggest, can even uplift our present mood, offering a gentle balm to the heart. It is a quiet affirmation that what was deeply felt, truly lived, can never entirely vanish. As we delve deeper, we'll discover how these initial impressions, however faint, laid the groundwork for a love that would forever shape the landscape of a life, evolving through joy and sorrow, testing its very foundations, yet leaving an indelible mark. There are loves that arrive like a sudden, brilliant storm, leaving an immediate, indelible impression. And then there are others that unfold gently, like the quiet turning of seasons, each leaving its own indelible mark, not with a crash, but with a slow, deliberate grace. Our love, I realize now, was of the latter kind, a patient blossoming that deepened with every shared sunrise and every whispered secret. After the initial shimmer of discovery, the golden glow of first impressions, came the steady rhythm of two lives intertwining. It wasn't a whirlwind of dramatic declarations, but a gradual weaving, thread by delicate thread, into a tapestry of shared existence. We learned each other's quiet habits, the way a hand sought another's in silence, the subtle shift in tone that signaled a deeper thought, a nascent worry, or a shared delight. It was in these unassuming moments, These small, almost invisible gestures, that the true architecture of our connection began to form, building a foundation far stronger than any fleeting passion. We built our world not with grand gestures alone, though those had their place, but with the quiet rituals that became the bedrock of our days. Morning coffee, brewed just so, with the same 2 mugs perched on the counter, the steam curling upwards like a silent blessing. An evening walk, hand in hand, where the silence was as comfortable as conversation, often more so, punctuated only by the rustle of leaves or the distant sound of an owl. These were the threads of joy, simple yet profound, that stitched our lives together, creating a comforting rhythm that resonated deep within our souls. We found immense pleasure in the mundane, transforming everyday moments into cherished memories, each one a testament to our growing bond. Do you ever find that the most cherished memories aren't always the monumental ones, but rather the small recurring patterns that signal comfort and belonging? For us, it was the shared glance across a crowded room that said everything without a single word, a secret language only we understood. Or the way a favorite song would spontaneously start playing on the radio, and we'd both know exactly what the other was thinking, a silent communion of spirits. These were not just habits, they were a language, unique to us, understood without effort, a constant reaffirmation of our profound connection. The quiet hum of shared existence, the unspoken understanding, became the very air we breathed. But a life shared, like any rich fabric, is not woven solely with threads of gold. There were darker hues too, the inevitable sorrows that tested the strength of our bond, stretching it, but never breaking it. Life, in its relentless march, brought its share of challenges. Career setbacks that felt like personal failures, casting shadows on our future plans. Family anxieties that weighed heavily on our hearts, demanding empathy and support. The mundane frustrations that can fray even the strongest nerves, threatening to unravel the delicate weave. I remember one particularly difficult period, a financial strain that hung heavy in the air like an unspoken word, a constant, low thrum of worry. The easy laughter grew scarce, replaced by a quiet tension that settled between us, a palpable weight. It was during these times that the true measure of our connection was taken, revealing its remarkable resilience. Instead of pulling apart, as some might, we leaned in, drawing strength from each other. I recall an evening when the weight of it all felt unbearable, a suffocating blanket of despair. We sat at the kitchen table, not speaking, just holding hands across the worn surface. And then, without a word, he simply squeezed my hand, a silent promise of solidarity, a profound reassurance that we were in this together. It wasn't a solution to the problem, but it was a profound affirmation of our partnership, a quiet declaration of unwavering support. It was a moment of shared vulnerability, stripped bare of pretense, where the strength of our love wasn't in its perfection, but in its unwavering presence amidst imperfection, a beacon in the storm. Psychological studies have shown that shared experiences, both positive and negative, contribute significantly to relationship satisfaction and resilience. It's not just about enduring hardship, but about the process of enduring it together, creating a narrative of mutual support and shared history. We learn to navigate the turbulent waters, sometimes with a quiet understanding that transcended words, other times with frustrated words that eventually gave way to gentle apologies and renewed commitment. Each challenge, once overcome, didn't just pass. It left behind a stronger thread, a deeper, more vibrant color in our tapestry, enriching its texture and story. These trials, though painful at the time, ultimately deepened our appreciation for each other and for the love we shared. This wasn't a static relationship. It was a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving, shifting, and growing. The initial passion matured into a quiet, abiding affection, a comfort that ran deeper than infatuation, a profound sense of belonging. We grew together, our individual paths merging and diverging, yet always returning to the central current of our shared life, like two rivers flowing into one. Have you ever noticed how long-term relationships develop their own unique internal logic, a kind of unspoken shorthand that outsiders can never quite grasp? We had ours, a collection of inside jokes, shared histories, and knowing glances that spoke volumes, a world built for two. It was a beautiful, complex dance of two souls, learning to move in harmony, even when the music changed, adapting and flowing with life's unpredictable rhythm. There were moments, too, of quiet introspection, where I would watch him, absorbed in a book or lost in thought, and feel a sudden rush of profound tenderness, an overwhelming sense of gratitude. It wasn't about the grand romantic ideal, it was about the quiet dignity of a person I knew so intimately, whose flaws I understood as well as his virtues, and loved all the more for them. This deepening of intimacy wasn't always a conscious process. It was woven into the fabric of our daily lives, a natural consequence of shared time and shared experience. It's a bit like a well-loved piece of furniture. It gains character and comfort with every passing year, every scratch and imperfection telling a story, each mark a testament to a life lived and loved. We learn to anticipate each other's needs, to offer comfort without being asked, to provide space when it was needed most, understanding the subtle cues that others might miss. This nuanced understanding, this subtle dance of two individuals, became the true measure of our bond, a testament to years of shared living and loving. It wasn't always smooth. There were disagreements, moments of misunderstanding, sharp words quickly regretted, but beneath it all was an unshakable foundation of mutual respect and deep affection. The tapestry was rich, intricate, and undeniably ours, a masterpiece woven from the threads of joy and sorrow, laughter and tears. Yet even in these reflections, a subtle shift begins to emerge, a quiet tremor beneath the surface of contentment. The quiet strength forged in shared adversity also brought with it a heightened awareness of life's precariousness, the fragility of even the most robust connections. The very depth of our connection made the thought of its alteration, its eventual transformation, a nascent, almost imperceptible ache, a faint premonition. We were so deeply intertwined that the idea of an unraveling, however distant, however unthinkable, cast a faint, almost invisible shadow, a whisper of what might one day be. This shadow wasn't one of immediate despair, but rather a quiet acknowledgement of the impermanent nature of even the most profound bonds, a mature understanding that nothing in life is truly static. It was the subtle understanding that while love could endure, its form might change, its presence might shift, like a river altering its course. The tapestry, though strong and resilient, was not immune to the passage of time, nor to the unforeseen forces that shape all human existence. We had built something beautiful, resilient, but inherently subject to life's ebb and flow, to the inevitable tides of change that touch us all. And so, as we consider this deeply woven fabric of joy and sorrow, this intricate design of a life lived together, we begin to sense the subtle shifts, the unspoken questions that linger, hinting at the challenges and transformations yet to come. The threads, once so tightly bound, now carry the faint whisper of future alterations, preparing us for a deeper contemplation of what happens when reality intervenes, when the world outside our carefully constructed haven demands its due. We speak of time as a river, but sometimes it feels more like a vast, still lake, holding reflections of moments long past, perfectly preserved beneath its surface. But what happens when the surface is disturbed? The golden hue of memory, so carefully cultivated, can be shattered in an instant, leaving behind not just absence, but a profound disquiet. This is the moment when the idealized narrative of love collides with the unyielding force of reality, a collision that leaves an indelible mark. The initial shock of loss, whether through an unexpected departure or the slow, agonizing fade of a connection, is a visceral experience. It's not merely an intellectual understanding, but a physical ache, a hollowing out of the very space the loved one once occupied. Think of a familiar room suddenly stripped of its most cherished furnishings. The space remains, but its essence is irrevocably altered. This immediate aftermath often feels like navigating a landscape transformed by an earthquake. Familiar landmarks are gone. The ground beneath one's feet feels unstable. The world continues its rhythm, but one finds oneself out of sync, observing life through a veil of unreality. Each mundane task, each passing moment, becomes a stark reminder of what is no longer. The mind, in its attempt to cope, often cycles through denial, anger, and a desperate yearning for what was. It's a struggle to reconcile the vibrant, living memories with the stark, unyielding truth of absence. How do we hold on to the beauty of a shared past when the present insists on its painful void? This internal tug-of-war is exhausting, a constant battle between the heart's desire to preserve and the mind's slow, reluctant acceptance. Grief, we know, is not a linear path, but a labyrinth of emotions, each turn bringing a new challenge. It's a process unique to each individual, shaped by the depth of the bond, the circumstances of the loss, and the very fabric of one's being. Psychologists often speak of the 5 stages of grief, yet these are rarely experienced in neat succession. Instead, they ebb and flow, a chaotic dance of sorrow and yearning. One might find themselves in a moment of quiet remembrance, only to be swept away by a sudden wave of anger at the unfairness of it all, or a profound sadness that feels too heavy to bear. It is in these moments that the idealized memory becomes both a comfort and a torment. The vivid recollection of a shared laugh, a tender touch, or a whispered promise can bring a fleeting warmth, only to be immediately followed by the chilling realization that these moments are now confined to the past, incapable of being recreated. It's like rereading a beloved letter from someone who is no longer there to write another. The words are beautiful, but the silence that follows is deafening. The challenge lies in allowing the memory to exist in its full beauty without letting it overshadow the necessity of acknowledging the present reality. It's a delicate balance, much like walking a tightrope between 2 towering cliffs. The pain of loss is not just about the absence of the other person. It's also about the loss of a future, the unlived moments, the conversations that will never be had. It's the silent echo in an empty house, the untouched side of the bed, the single cup of coffee instead of 2. These seemingly small details become monumental in their significance, each one a sharp reminder of a life irrevocably changed. The more profound the love, the deeper the wound. It reshapes one's identity, forcing a reevaluation of who one is without the other. This internal struggle is perhaps the most solitary aspect of grief, a journey that, while supported by loved ones, must ultimately be walked alone. The world, in its practical demands, often expects a quicker recovery, a more efficient return to normalcy. But the heart, having loved deeply, resists such easy transitions. It clings to the echoes, to the phantom limb of a shared existence. This clinging is not a weakness, but a testament to the depth of the bond, a quiet refusal to let go of something so profoundly meaningful. The internal conflict intensifies as time passes. The initial shock gives way to a dull ache, a constant companion. One begins to notice how others move on, how life around them continues its relentless march forward. This can feel like a betrayal, or a profound loneliness, a sense of being left behind in a world that no longer recognizes the depth of one's sorrow. Yet even in this profound isolation, there is a quiet strength that begins to emerge. It is the strength of endurance, the quiet resilience of a spirit learning to navigate uncharted waters. It is the slow, almost imperceptible process of adapting to a new reality, one where the beloved is present, not in physical form, but in the indelible imprint they have left on the soul. This isn't about forgetting, it's about relearning how to live with a profound absence, how to carry the weight of memory without being crushed by it. It's a quiet act of courage, faced each day, each moment. The struggle to reconcile the cherished past with the painful present is a testament to the human heart's capacity for both immense love and profound sorrow. It forces a deeper understanding of impermanence, a stark confrontation with the transient nature of all things, even the most enduring affections. And in this confrontation, there is a quiet, painful growth, a deepening of perspective that, while unwelcome, is ultimately transformative. The most acute pain often arises not from the initial shock, but from the slow dawning realization that the future, once so clearly envisioned with another, has been irrevocably erased. It is the moment when the mind finally accepts what the heart has long resisted, that the story, as it was being written, has ended, and a new unscripted chapter must begin, alone. This is not a sudden epiphany, but a gradual, soul-searing acknowledgement that permeates every corner of one's being. This profound absence, though painful, forces a reevaluation, a quiet reckoning with the enduring power of what was and the stark reality of what is no longer. It carves out a new space within the heart, a space where memory and absence coexist, where the echoes of a cherished love resonate in a silence that is both heartbreaking and eventually, strangely comforting. And it is from this crucible of loss that a new understanding begins to emerge, not of forgetting, but of how the indelible mark of that love continues to shape the very essence of who we are, guiding our steps even in its absence. To revisit a past affection is not to dwell, but to understand how those echoes still shape the person we are today, much like the roots of an old tree anchor it against the wind. Even after the initial shock of loss begins to recede, a quiet truth emerges. The love we once knew does not simply vanish. Instead, it weaves itself into the very fabric of our being, becoming an invisible thread in the tapestry of who we are now. We carry within us the imprints of those we have loved deeply, whether their physical presence remains or not. These imprints are not static. They evolve with us, informing our reactions, our aspirations, and even the quiet corners of our dreams. Consider how a significant relationship, like a long-held melody, continues to play in the background of our lives. It influences the rhythm of our days, the harmony of our thoughts, and even the subtle cadences of our decisions. Have you ever found yourself making a choice, perhaps a seemingly small one about a book to read or a path to walk, only to realize it stems from a shared preference, a long-forgotten conversation, or a cherished memory with someone no longer physically present? Perhaps it's a particular author you now seek out because they once shared a passage with you that resonated deeply, or a scenic route you instinctively choose because it was your route, filled with unspoken understanding. These aren't just habits. They are echoes of a shared existence, deeply embedded. Psychologists often speak of self-concept and identity formation, noting how profoundly our significant relationships contribute to who we perceive ourselves to be. It's not just about what we learned from them, but how their presence, and now their absence, reshaped our inner landscape, adding layers of nuance and depth. Perhaps it was a partner who instilled in you a love for classical music, a passion you now pursue with quiet devotion, finding solace in its complex harmonies. You might find yourself humming a particular concerto, and in that moment, feel a gentle connection, a whisper from the past. Or perhaps they taught you a particular way of looking at the world, a patient curiosity that now guides your interactions with others, making you a more empathetic listener, a more observant soul. I recall a specific instance where a loved one's gentle insistence on seeing the humor in mundane setbacks became my own quiet strength during a particularly trying period at work. Their voice, not literally, but in the way I approached the situation, was a comforting presence, a guiding principle. These aren't artistic fictions. They are the subtle, undeniable ways our past loves continue to inform our present selves. The endowment effect in psychology, typically applied to possessions, can similarly be felt with memories. They gain increased value and influence over time because they are uniquely ours, shared with one who was uniquely theirs. This profound personal history becomes a lens through which we interpret new experiences, a silent counsel in moments of doubt, and a wellspring of resilience when facing new challenges. Even in forming new relationships, we carry the lessons learned, the boundaries understood, and the capacity for love expanded by those who came before. This profound, almost spiritual inheritance, however, can also bring its own quiet sorrow. There are moments when the realization of how deeply intertwined your lives were hits with a fresh ache, a sudden awareness that a part of you, inextricably linked to them, has also been irrevocably altered. It's the silent understanding that certain jokes will never be told again, certain perspectives will never be shared in the same way, and certain futures, once imagined together, will now unfold alone. This is not merely nostalgia. It is the raw, visceral understanding of a fundamental shift in one's own identity, a recalibration of the self in the wake of a profound gravitational pull that has ceased. You might find yourself, for example, instinctively reaching for a second cup of coffee in the morning, only to remember the silence that now accompanies your own. Or you might catch a scent, a particular song, and for a fleeting moment, the world rights itself, only to tilt again as the memory solidifies into absence, leaving a hollow space that no new presence can entirely fill. It's the sudden, sharp pang when a new acquaintance asks about a shared memory, and you realize the story now belongs only to you, its other half forever silent. This recalibration is not a choice, but a profound internal restructuring, a quiet reshaping of the I that once was we. Yet in this bittersweet realization, there is also a profound strength. For to carry the mark of such a love is to carry its wisdom, its kindness, and its unique lens on the world. It means that the growth you experienced, the empathy you cultivated, the patience you learned, these are not lost. They are absorbed, becoming part of your enduring legacy, a silent strength that informs your character. It's like a sculptor who, after years of working with a particular type of clay, finds their hands instinctively shaping new forms with the same grace and understanding, even when the original inspiration is no longer before them. The lessons, both joyful and painful, become an intrinsic part of your personal narrative, guiding your steps in ways you might not always consciously recognize. This isn't about dwelling in the past, but about acknowledging how the past has enriched and deepened the person you are today. It is a quiet affirmation of continued growth, even through the landscape of loss. This enduring legacy allows us to approach new relationships, new challenges, and new chapters of life not as empty vessels, but as individuals imbued with a rich history, capable of deeper connection and more profound understanding. The love that was becomes the foundation for the love that can be, not replacing, but building upon the indelible mark left behind. It is in these quiet moments of understanding that we begin to see not just the scars of loss, but also the unexpected strength and wisdom that bloom in their wake, gently preparing us for a renewed appreciation of life's quiet, enduring beauty. Perhaps the most profound lessons in love are not found in its grand declarations, but in the tender, unspoken understandings that weave two lives together, and in the quiet strength found long after they unravel. After the storm of loss, when the initial shock subsides and the raw edges of grief begin to dull, a new, quieter landscape emerges. It is a landscape not of forgetting, but of recalibrating, of learning to inhabit a world irrevocably changed. The heart, though wounded, still seeks solace, still yearns for connection, even if it is now found in different forms. This journey of resilience is not a sudden leap, but a gradual, almost imperceptible re-engagement with life, much like a plant slowly turning towards the sun after a long winter, seeking its warmth anew. The initial days after a profound loss can feel like navigating a dense fog, each step uncertain, every familiar landmark obscured. Yet, as the weeks turn into months, the fog thins, revealing outlines of what once was, and surprisingly, hints of what might yet be. It is in this subtle clearing that the search for quiet joys begins. Have you ever noticed how, after a period of intense sadness, the simplest things can suddenly hold a profound beauty? A robin song outside your window, the warmth of a cup of tea in your hands, the familiar rhythm of a morning walk. These moments, once perhaps overlooked, now carry a disproportionate weight of comfort, a gentle reassurance that beauty persists. This isn't to say the pain vanishes entirely. Grief, as many psychologists observe, is not a linear process. It ebbs and flows like the tide. But alongside the waves of sorrow, there grows a gentle current of gratitude. Gratitude for the memories, yes, but also for the continued presence of life itself, for the ability to still feel the sun on your skin, to hear a loved one's laugh, even if it's a friend or a grandchild, or the comforting purr of a cat on your lap. It's a quiet rebellion against despair, a conscious choice to seek out the small, often overlooked blessings that still pepper our days, like scattered jewels in the everyday. Consider the ritual of tending a garden. Each spring, despite the harshness of the past winter, new shoots emerge. You nurture them, water them, watch them grow. This act of care, this focus on growth and renewal, can become a powerful metaphor for the heart's own healing. It's a tangible connection to the cycle of life, a gentle reminder that even after things have withered, there is always the potential for new bloom. Many find solace in such routines, the methodical turning of soil, the patient waiting for a seed to sprout, the quiet satisfaction of a task completed. These simple acts ground us, pulling us gently back into the rhythm of the present, away from the swirling eddies of the past. And what of impermanence? The very nature of loss forces us to confront this difficult truth. Nothing lasts forever. But within this acceptance lies a strange, unexpected beauty. If everything is transient, then every moment, every connection, every shared laugh becomes infinitely more precious. It's a shift in perspective, like looking at a cherished painting not just for its grand subject, but for the delicate brushstrokes, the subtle interplay of light and shadow that make it unique, knowing that its beauty is fleeting, yet profound. This understanding doesn't diminish the pain of what is gone. Rather, it deepens the appreciation for what was, and for what still remains, however fleeting, imbuing it with a fragile, exquisite value. Have you ever found yourself watching a sunset, truly watching it, as if seeing it for the first time? The vibrant colors, the slow descent of the sun below the horizon, the quiet fading into twilight. It's a daily spectacle of impermanence, yet one that fills us with a profound sense of peace and wonder. Learning to embrace this natural cycle, rather than fight against it, becomes a cornerstone of resilience. It allows us to hold both joy and sorrow in the same hand, recognizing that both are integral parts of the human experience, like two sides of the same coin, each necessary for its completeness. This re-engagement with life often manifests in unexpected ways. Perhaps it's a renewed interest in an old hobby, one that had been set aside during busier times, like painting or playing a forgotten instrument. Or a newfound curiosity about a subject that had never before captured your attention, leading you down unexpected paths of learning and discovery. These new avenues for joy and purpose are not replacements for what was lost, but rather expansions of self, proof that the wellspring of life within us does not dry up, even after profound sorrow. It's like a river, after a long drought, finding new channels to flow, enriching new landscapes along its path, creating beauty where there was once only barrenness. Sometimes, the most profound comfort comes from simply being present, observing the world around you with a renewed sense of wonder. The way light filters through the leaves of a tree, creating dancing patterns on the ground. The intricate pattern of frost on a window pane, a fleeting work of art. The distant sound of children playing, a reminder of life's continuous unfolding. These small, unbidden moments of beauty can offer a quiet balm to the soul. They remind us that life, in its myriad forms, continues, and that we are still a part of its grand, unfolding story, a vital thread in its rich tapestry. This process of finding resilience is deeply personal, and it unfolds at its own pace. There is no right or wrong way to grieve, no timeline for healing. But for many, it involves a gentle turning towards the light, a conscious effort to cultivate moments of peace and gratitude, even in the shadow of loss. It's about understanding that while some chapters of our lives may close, the story itself continues, enriched by every joy and every sorrow. The human spirit, in its quiet determination, possesses an extraordinary capacity to adapt, to find beauty in imperfection, and to continue to seek meaning even when meaning feels elusive. It's a testament to our innate drive for life, a gentle affirmation that even after the deepest cuts, the heart can learn to beat with a new, quiet rhythm, a melody of enduring hope. The true turning point in this journey often arrives not with a dramatic flourish, but with a quiet, internal shift. It's the moment when you realize that the memory of your loved one, once a source of sharp pain, now brings a gentle warmth, a comforting presence rather than an aching absence. It's when you can look at an old photograph and smile, truly smile, without the immediate sting of tears. This isn't forgetting, it's transforming. It's the acceptance that love, in its purest form, transcends physical presence, becoming an enduring part of your inner landscape, a quiet strength that anchors you through life's currents. This gentle shift in perspective allows for a new kind of peace, one that acknowledges both the past's beauty and the present's quiet grace. It's a peace born not of denial, but of integration, where the threads of joy and sorrow are woven together into a richer, more complex tapestry. The acceptance of impermanence, once a daunting truth, now feels like a liberation, freeing us to fully embrace each moment, knowing its precious, fleeting nature. We learn to carry our losses not as burdens, but as profound teachers, shaping us into more compassionate, more appreciative beings. This newfound peace, acknowledging both the past's beauty and the present's quiet grace, prepares us for a deeper, more profound understanding. It is in this space of quiet acceptance that we begin to hear the bittersweet harmony of a love that endures, not despite, but because of, life's inevitable changes. We speak of time as a river, but sometimes it feels more like a vast, still lake, holding reflections of moments long past, perfectly preserved beneath its surface. And in that stillness, we find a profound, bittersweet harmony. After navigating the turbulent waters of loss and the quiet currents of resilience, we arrive at a different kind of shore. Not one of forgotten memories, nor of pain perpetually relived, but a landscape where joy and sorrow have merged, creating a unique, enduring vista. This is where the true legacy of love resides, not as a fleeting echo, but as a deep, resonant chord within the soul. The journey through memory has taught us that love, in its truest form, does not simply end when circumstances change or when a loved one departs. Instead, it transforms. It sheds its physical presence, perhaps, but its essence, its profound impact, remains. Think of a grand old tree in winter. Its leaves are gone, its branches bare, yet its roots hold firm, drawing sustenance from the earth, ready for the promise of spring. So too does love, once deeply rooted, continue to nourish us, even in its altered state. This transformation is not always immediate or easy. There are days when the quiet beauty of a memory feels like a sharp ache, a reminder of what is no longer. The human mind, in its intricate dance with grief, often revisits these moments, seeking to reconcile the vibrant past with the muted present. But with time, and with the gentle acceptance of life's relentless flow, these sharp edges begin to soften. The bittersweetness becomes less about regret and more about appreciation. We begin to understand that the richness of our emotional landscape is defined not by the absence of sorrow, but by its harmonious interplay with joy. Just as a piece of music gains depth from both its major and minor chords, so too does a life well lived find its profound beauty in the full spectrum of its experiences. Have you ever noticed how the most poignant melodies often weave together notes of happiness and melancholy, creating something far more moving than either could achieve alone? This is the harmony we seek, and often find, in the enduring legacy of love. Consider the concept of continuing bonds, a notion explored in psychological research that suggests maintaining a connection with a deceased loved one can be a healthy and vital part of the grieving process. It's not about being stuck in the past, but about integrating their memory, their lessons, and their love into your ongoing life. It's the quiet conversation you have with them in your mind, the questions you still ask, the comfort you draw from their remembered wisdom. It's seeing their influence in the choices you make, the values you uphold, the person you have become. This isn't a delusion. It's a profound acknowledgement of the indelible mark they left. This integration allows for a subtle, yet powerful, shift in perspective. The thought of them no longer brings solely tears, but also a gentle smile. The memories, once tinged with pain, now glow with a soft, warm light. It's like discovering an old, cherished letter tucked away in a drawer. The initial reading might have brought a rush of emotion, but revisiting it years later, you find a deeper appreciation for the words, the sentiment, and the person who penned them, without the immediate sting of separation. We learn that love, in its essence, is not possessive. It is expansive. It doesn't demand presence. It fosters connection that transcends physical boundaries. It becomes a part of our internal narrative, a guiding star, a quiet strength. This is the post-traumatic growth that researchers speak of. The idea that profound loss, while devastating, can also lead to unexpected personal development, a deeper appreciation for life, and a renewed sense of purpose. It's not about forgetting. It's about growing around the grief, much like a tree grows around a scar, incorporating it into its very being, making it stronger, more unique. This journey has shown us that the human heart is remarkably resilient, capable of holding immense sorrow alongside profound joy. It is a testament to our capacity for love that even in its absence, its presence can still be felt, shaping our world, enriching our spirit. We carry these loves with us, not as burdens, but as precious keepsakes, woven into the very fabric of our identity. They are the quiet hum beneath the surface of our everyday lives, a constant, gentle reminder of the depth of our capacity to connect, to care, to be utterly transformed. The true climax of this journey isn't a grand revelation, but a quiet, profound understanding that settles within the soul. It's the moment when the last vestiges of resistance to what is, rather than what was, finally dissipate. It's the realization that the love, though irrevocably changed, has not diminished in its power to shape and soothe. It is in this stillness, this deep acceptance, that the bittersweet harmony becomes not just an idea, but a lived experience, a gentle, persistent melody that underscores the entirety of one's being. And so, we find ourselves in a place of quiet contentment, where the memories of a profound love no longer haunt, but rather illuminate. They are the constellations in our personal night sky, guiding us with their steady, ancient light. The sorrow is still there, a faint, familiar echo, but it is now intertwined with a deep gratitude for what was, and a peaceful appreciation for what remains. This is the enduring legacy, a love that has matured, deepened, and become an inseparable part of who we are, a testament to the heart's extraordinary capacity to love, lose, and yet continue to beautifully bloom. Thus, the journey concludes not with an ending, but with the quiet affirmation that certain loves, though altered by time and sorrow, never truly fade, but rather transform into an enduring, beautiful part of who we are.